You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian,
and
Keith Cheatham.
We're back, guys, for yet another fantastic episode of the Red Moon Podcast.
Yes.
Is it fantastic?
Always is.
Is it amazing?
When is it never fantastic?
Fantastic.
Exactly. We have all of our fans joining us.
Well, I like fans.
Who's joining us off the top there? Do we have any people out there who are, they're just the first people tuning in tonight?
Yeah.
I'm
got?
joining myself.
Oh, you're joining
Oh,
it?
we got
of
Neil
course.
Singleton. We got Darren
What?
McNutt. We got Keith Oh, yeah, he's right there.
Wow.
See, I told you.
Hey, Keith, you're tuning in.
I'm tuning in.
You're
Yeah.
boosting our numbers by...
I'm tuning in and tuning out.
I don't know if that's legal. We can't have that.
I'm legal.
We're going to use those numbers to report ad revenue,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm telling you,
we don't
people-
have any ad
It's like
revenue.
Netflix.
But once we hit
What's
3
your ad
viewers-
revenue? 0.
Hey, maybe not someday, We got a website now. We're legit.
That's true.
That's right. Go check out redmoonproductions.com.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Yep. Follow us on social, on all of them. Twitter,
We have everything.
Facebook,
Except
Insta,
with
Snapchat.
We haven't really posted anything.
I don't think
to
we don't have a
Snapchat.
Snapchat.
No, I mean...
Yeah,
we're-
we do. Red Moon Chat.
Yeah.
Oh, we do.
Red,
yeah,
no,
I forgot
Red Moon
Snap.
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 Red Moon
Yeah,
Snap,
yeah, but we've never used it.
We don't use it because we
Who
have nothing to
uses
use it for.
Snapchat?
Exactly.
Lots of
We're not
people.
teenage girls.
I mean, we're not. We need to get a TikTok.
Never that. No, but yeah, no. I mean, we just don't have any.
So that would
Snapchat's more
actually
when you
be
have
kinda
news
funny
to share.
to do it
We haven't had. You know when we would have used Snapchat to announce the website would have been a good.
Yeah.
But that would have been the only snap ever.
Right.
Honestly, I mean, behind the scenes
with
stuff.
bunny
If we were
ears.
doing
It's,
projects or
Snapchat's good for when
you
you
know.
have constant news to share, and we don't.
True. You could find all the constant news we have on our website.
Yes.
If we had a TikTok, that would probably be the most
But
production
that's not
work we've
gonna
done in,
happen.
in a year.
Snapchat, I
So.
understand. TikTok's never happening.
No. No.
Well, we do have a great show. We obviously have a new winner on the block for the box office.
Huh?
The Invisible Man overtook Sonic.
And
I mean,
Call of
can
the
you-
Wild's fallen off
Yeah.
the face of the
Yeah.
earth. They said they're
Well,
going to
that's-
lose 50 million.
Yeah,
off
50
of it.
million.
That was in
Off
our
of it.
headlines
They're
there.
gonna lose it.
Another Fox Bumble from
Yeah,
Disney
it's,
that they kept
Yep.
alive, but
Well, it was already done. Like they pretty much are airing the movies that were already in post production when they
Yeah.
bought Fox. So, but
And-
it's one of those things where they're like, yeah, we're not making money off it, but at the same time, they
but here's
knew,
the thing. To be fair, they're giving them the time of day.
yeah, they let
They're
them.
allowing them to be released. They're
They could've
doing
just
so
said, "We're
in
scrapping
good
it
faith.
all."
Yeah.
They could have, and
think they
now
should've.
I was gonna say you're seeing reasons why they probably should have.
Yeah.
Because we're not seeing any
I guess,
returns.
in their mind,
significant.
though, I guess they're thinking, the only money we really have to foot now is, I guess, like the marketing. I mean, yes, we paid for all of Fox, but
Yeah.
any money we can make off of these movies that we didn't fully produce, let's try. But they're not making anything off Call of the Wild.
I need to
So-
see some reviews of that because I'm just curious if Harrison Ford was any good.
Yeah.
Did he?
The reviews I've seen have been decent. They've said that it's a decent family film and that Harrison Ford's fine and that yes, the dog CGI is weird, but once
Yeah.
you get into the movie, you get used
You
to it.
forget about it a
But
little bit.
I mean, it's still not drawing in viewers. It's just so. It's like it's a fine family film, but when you have Sonic that's doing
Yeah.
so much better, people
well,
are,
it was unexpected, and it's much more a family film. I think people are
Yes.
going to see Call of the Wild. Harrison Ford's definitely the draw.
yeah.
Oh,
but it's
yeah.
not when you have the two to pick.
You don't think family movie, you think Sonic.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and you think when you put it up to your kids who are kicking and screaming, what are they going to choose? The
They're gonna-
bright, colorful,
They're gonna choose
animated
Sonic.
character.
They're not going
Yeah.
to choose Call of the Wild. Exactly.
Right.
And it really has no hope going into this weekend because now that Onward's out, it's like
It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly,
Call of the Wild's dead.
we were talking about this a little earlier. I honestly am
Been
interested.
put down.
Call of the Wilds. Yeah, it's
it's time
I don't
to
even-
put Buck down.
Can't. Yeah.
Put
Yeah.
him to
Put
sleep.
down.
We can't
Harrison
talk about
Ford
that. We
too.
just killed a puppy in the first 5 minutes. We
Uh,
can't do
he's
that on
not
the
a puppy.
show.
He's not a puppy. He's a full-grown dog.
Yeah, he's a wild animal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Harrison Ford's a wild animal, and he's gotten old, and it's time to put him down.
We had
Oh,
to,
don't say that.
we had to tame him. That's all we did. We
I'm
just
gonna feel
tamed
bad
him.
if something happens to
I
Harrison
know you
Ford
are.
now.
Yeah, he's gonna crash his plane again.
Yeah. He's got
Like how he has a pilot's license still, I have no idea.
Well, apparently he's very good. I mean, he managed to keep the plane from like completely crashing.
Yeah, but it's
so-
his third or fourth crash.
I
Yeah,
know.
it's true.
It's like, after a couple
while,
of
you
them,
would
you
think,
think,
yeah.
well, we're tired of you just managing to save the plane. You shouldn't crash at all.
All I'm curious of is seeing, apparently there's footage of him curling up next to like a live human in a green outfit
because the CGI,
the CGI
Oh.
dog.
motion capture. Yeah.
And it's
Wow.
like he had to actually lay in bed with a mocap
Oh,
performer.
wow. I want to see that.
So I want to see the behind the
Can you
scenes.
see
Yeah.
like him laying in bed with his arm like on this purse, just like,
Yeah.
you're a good boy, bud. I bet he. Well, he said as long as there's a paycheck in it, Harrison Ford's like he doesn't give a crap. But I can just see him sitting there like, can't believe I'm getting paid.
I know. That's what I'm saying. He's got to feel like, where'd my career
No,
go?
I know he probably walks off set and he looks at the director and he's like, hey, good job today, Harrison. He's like, I don't know what I'm doing.
yeah.
And
don't
you know
care.
he's got that.
It's not even that
gruffly-
I think he don't know. He
Yeah.
just doesn't care anymore.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's
It's
just like
he's like,
I
just
don't
give me the paycheck, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, look, he's made he's made enough films to warrant
Yeah.
doing Call
Oh,
of the
yeah.
Wild, so he can have a flop here and there.
Yeah.
But it definitely is not what Disney's looking for in saving,
Well-
the Fox franchise. But oh well, we'll see this week if, because Onward's coming out. My prediction is it'll take the top spot. Sonic will bump back up into number 2. The Invisible Man, being rated R and already having had its opening weekend, will slip back to 3. Call of the Wild will probably fall out of the top 10. I'm kidding, it won't. But
yeah, talking about Invisible Man.
yeah,
Yeah.
It would. Is it going to be an invisible success?
What?
Terrible. I don't know.
No, because it's already very visibly a success. So
Yeah.
yeah, you tried.
I tried. It
Well,
was a terrible
Let's
segue.
Just roll
Yeah.
the review.
Okay, Sean, you introduce it.
This is our review.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
Sorry, I had to.
The
This is-
Invisible Man.
We're off the rails.
Your joke was bad. I was just like Universal Pictures' most iconic catalog of films is arguably their classic monster movies, ranging from the late 1920s through the 1950s. Even if you've not seen them, everyone recognizes Bela Lugosi's Dracula, Boris Karloff as Frankenstein's monster, and Lon Chaney as the Wolfman. Further still, everyone is familiar with the characters of the Invisible Man, the Mummy, and the Creature from the Black Lagoon. With Universal's 90s remake of their classic Mummy films being a major success, and multiple studios creating multiple shared universe film franchises, it made sense that Universal would try to bring back the original shared movie universe of their classic monsters, starting with the newest reboot of The Mummy. 2018's The Mummy, however, proved to be a flop, critically and financially, and Universal's so-called Dark Universe was scrapped before it ever really began. Now Universal has shifted gears, electing to instead focus on new versions and new films based on their classic monsters, focusing on each individual film and self-contained stories instead of trying to create a massive shared universe. The first film to release under this mindset is Leigh Whannell's The Invisible Man, starring Elizabeth Moss. Moss plays Cecilia Cass, a woman trapped in an abusive relationship with Adrian Griffin, a wealthy scientist in the field of optics, portrayed by Oliver Jackson Cohen. When Cecilia finds a way to escape him and their violent relationship, Adrian swears to hunt her down. A few days later, Cecilia learns Adrian has committed suicide and has left her a fortune in his will. Soon, however, strange things keep occurring around the house, and a presence seems to be stalking Cecilia wherever she goes. As those close to her begin to get hurt, convinced that Adrian is still alive and attacking her, Cecilia sets out to prove her sanity and that Adrian has faked his death, and discovered a way to become invisible, before he can hurt anyone else. While this iteration of the Invisible Man may not share the same story as that of the novel or original film, it does capture the essence and ideas attempted to be conveyed in both. Allowing Whannell the freedom to craft his own story, not beholden to a shared universe, focusing on the story and characters first and foremost, has proven to have paid off, as The Invisible Man is the best film based on one of Universal's classic monsters to have released in over a decade. Whannell understands perfectly the horror of the unseen thing, delivering a suspenseful thriller that will leave you constantly at the edge of your seat. Moss's Cecilia plays a perfect lead and heroine as someone who believably has suffered at the hands of a physically and mentally abusive lover. Cecilia suffers from constant fear and anxiety, a person with PTSD constantly looking over her shoulder for the attacker she knows is gone, but still can't mentally shake. When the reality of an actual threat, not just of her imagination, comes into play, unseeable by those around her, the themes of sanity, mental breakdown, and the fight for someone to just believe her become prevalent, creating a thriller with multiple layers and depth, alongside the high tension. Winnell proves that he can do more with a simple budget and story than all the action horror films Universal has previously attempted combined. Focusing instead on the raw emotion and relatability of Cecilia, especially for those who have survived abusive relationships in their own lives. Winnell takes a simple science horror story and turns it into a gripping thriller that not only scares you, but will leave you thinking and possibly even checking over your own shoulder. I give The Invisible Man 3.5 out of 4 stars. So there you have it, 3.5 out of 4 stars. Was a spectacular and amazing.
Hold on.
It was a good movie, Brandon.
Keith,
I'm trying to
stop.
talk about the review.
I know
Brandon.
you are, but I can't.
I'm invisible.
You were just here.
I am now the Invisible Man.
No, you're not.
I am now the Invisible
Stop.
Man.
No, you're not. You're on cam too. I
No,
see
I'm
you over
not.
there.
You don't
Wait.
pay no attention. No, I'm not here.
Hold on, but where's Sean?
He's invisible too.
Where is? Oh my!
I don't know.
gosh.
He's really gone.
I think he really is. Sean?
Look, his
Is that
shirt's
him?
moving. You can see his shirt.
Is that? Is that?
Pay
him?
pay no attention to the head bobbing up above the shirt.
This is the worst thing I think we've ever done on the show.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
No. Well, taking off our pants with that time was better. I think that was probably the best thing
I
we've
enjoyed
ever
taking
done.
my pants off.
I know you do. All right, so let's talk about it, guys. 3.5 out of 4 stars.
3.5 out of 4 stars available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about it, Keith.
It was good. It was scary. It was suspenseful.
Talk about it.
It had depth and character development and emotion. And when I went in expecting, just I thought it looked good from the trailers, but I honestly just expect kind of more of your typical type of horror genre film that we've had, and it's really much more. Well, it is definitely a thriller, and the suspense that is built over the fact that they do a really good job of making you wonder at all times, where is he and what is he doing? 'Cause he could be anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, even Sean, like you mentioned, like the shots. If you want to talk about that, like the angles.
Oh
and-
yeah. I mean, there's maybe 4 or 5 scenes in the movie where they start the camera off pointing at Elizabeth Moss or someone else, and then they'll wander off over to the side of the frame, and then the camera will pan over to just an empty spot in the room,
Yeah.
and nothing happens. Like you're waiting for the shoes to move or the blinds to move or something, but it'll just sit there
It's just an excellent
on this empty
build-up.
space, and it really makes you kind of wonder, like, is he there?
Or
Is he standing there?
what's
Is
going
that
to
why the
happen?
camera is pointing to it, is to direct you to that's where he is?
And those
But-
moments, I feel like, I was just saying, those moments perfectly help build the suspense, because then
Yeah.
in the moments where
Yeah.
something does happen that you're not expecting, because you've
Yeah.
seen so many times that move that you don't know, it's like, well, is he there? Is something going to happen? And
Yeah.
then when something finally does happen and you're not expecting it, I mean, it scares the crap out of you. Me and Sean both were talking about there's a scene involving an attic, and I'm not going to spoil anything,
Yeah.
but just that one scene alone is probably the
I think
best
I've seen
thing
that one in the
in
trailers.
the,
That's kind of spoiled.
man.
I don't think you have.
No.
Yeah.
All right.
No.
I've seen the trailers, and I don't remember anything about it, but I mean,
There's very few movies that I've seen that have like made me like jump,
oh yeah, it scared the
and
crap out of me.
this
Okay, well, here's the thing,
scared
too.
me to death.
Think about Heredity or
Hereditary.
Damn it! I always get it wrong. I always get that one wrong. What is it?
Hereditary.
Hereditary. I always get it wrong. That one, and then what's the other one he did? Oh gosh, I'm trying to think.
Midsummer.
Yeah, he
Midsommar,
did
yeah,
Midsummer.
Midsommar.
That was his most recent
Just
one
those
last
two,
year.
Yeah.
There was one other one. I
No,
thought.
you always think he did The Witch,
He-
but that
he
wasn't.
didn't
him.
Oh,
do The
he didn't
Witch.
do the witch.
That was the
okay.
guy that did Lighthouse.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the thing is I think of those movies, and those are unsettling.
Yes.
Those are more, the build-up is kind of because of the demonic nature. Same with Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
Unsettling, but also the one thing I would say is compared to Paranormal Activity, because you have it's the suspense of the unknown, and to not see the actual thing.
Paranormal Activity is terrifying because it's a demonic presence that you can't see. You don't know what it is. This, it's a man, but you never know where he is or what he's up to.
That's crazy.
And that's unsettling, too, because it's like, okay, this is a guy, but how do you defend yourself against something you can't see because you never know where he's at?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is. And, I mean, it is. You have the jump scares, which are fun, but it does have that suspense and that constant anxiety of not knowing where he's at that I feel is what makes the movie so much better than just a jump scare film.
Even sometimes in the film, you do know where he's at. And yet his actions as the Invisible Man, he may just be standing, and that he's standing there, even though he's not trying to attack somebody.
Yeah.
It's like he's there, and all he's doing is standing, which is really creepy. Because it's just again, trying not to spoil it, but there's a scene where, they're asleep in the bedroom, and he's, standing on some sheets, and she tries to pull the sheets, and they won't move, and she looks down and sees, the feet standing on the sheet, and it's knowing, he's not attacking her at the moment or anything, but it's knowing that all he's doing is standing there, and that alone is enough to just unsettle you.
It's also the mental aspect of the fact that she doesn't know whether she's going crazy or somebody's there, and she's convinced he's alive and doing this, and everybody else is he's dead. You're just making these horrors up in your mind and driving yourself crazy. You need to stop. So it's that aspect of the fact that the buildup of she thinks she's crazy, and then when you get to this point where she's pulling on these sheets and she's just am I crazy? No, there's someone actually here, but no one else can see or witnesses that because he does stuff to her when the people aren't looking, which helps build the aspect of them thinking she's insane because he's messing with her, and it builds throughout the movie until people start getting hurt.
Yep.
Well,
I will say too, it's not just this straightforward story of the guy's invisible and he's trying to enact a revenge or whatever. There is a bit of a twist near the end that that will surprise audiences because it's not just that straightforward. There's a little bit more to the story that you come to find out towards the end. So that makes it even more compelling because it's not you get through the whole movie and then about 30 minutes before the end you start to kind of realize that there's a little more to what's going on, and it just adds to that suspensefulness.
I would say even without the twist, I still felt like the movie had more depth than most other films about Invisible. You've seen Hollow Man, we've seen the original Invisible Man. The fact that they based the story around basically an abusive relationship was really awesome because it's okay, what happens when you can't get away from your abuser because he has the ability
to be unseen.
Yeah, to be unseen.
I was going to say, what better way to cloak a domestic abuser than to not be able to be seen.
Yeah,
exactly.
And it was just that aspect that they played with those themes and her sanity that I was like, this movie has deeper themes than just it's a horror movie where there's an invisible. Hollow Man was just scientist. He became invisible and he used it to spy on naked women and kill people. It was okay, that's your typical horror slasher film. Yeah. This is not a slasher horror film. It is a suspense
psychological thriller.
Yeah. So, there's been plenty of movies that have tackled the subject of domestic abuse. Back in the 90s, there was a movie called Sleeping with the Enemy. I'm trying to think of her name, Roberts.
Not Julia Roberts.
Julia Roberts, Pretty Woman. Yeah. So she's married in this abusive relationship, and she runs away, and the guy follows her, but she has to eventually stand and fight, and it's just that's a fantastic movie in itself. It's not as good as this, but to take that and then make the guy invisible
to where he can't be
to where
seen
he
at
can't
all.
be. Yeah, it's just.
Well, and I think it's an overarching message too with the battle you already have ahead of you, in the sense that it's the part where this woman is trying to claim that she's not crazy.
Yeah,
and it's you already have the overall social. Cultural, overtone about women being heard and people not believing them.
Yeah.
So it's imagine a woman who's doing, who's not only being abused, but then abused by somebody that
she's continuing to be abused because
and because he knows that this is his ultimate way of enacting the revenge he seeks on her, and whatever reason that is. Yeah. And so it's I think it's an overall. It is kind of there's an underlying social commentary there, but then to do it in a suspenseful psychological thriller way is really creative,
Yeah.
and I think is what makes it something that is worth the remake, especially considering that we haven't had
Considering their
successes with the
previous-
Universal, monster movie flicks. And so I think really the bigger question here is if this is the springboard to kind of launch, the individual. I know they already had The Mummy,
Yeah.
and they already had what
And
was
it
the
failed.
Unfortunately.
Dracula Untold failed.
Yeah.
The Mummy
But they
failed.
I even saw a Screen Rant article talking about how they are hoping that Leigh Whannell is scheduled to sign on to, or he wants to. They haven't scheduled, or he signed something with Blumhouse, but he wants to redo a Dracula movie.
Yeah.
And so, having seen this, would you
Well, and
all be
here's my
interested
thing.
in seeing that take on his?
I
from his
trust.
part?
Yeah.
Him and James Wan are two people I trust with the horror franchise in general because they both produced. I mean, they both created the Saw franchise together.
They single-handedly,
Um,
I'd say, within the last generation,
Within
have
the last,
resurrected
with
it.
the last decade,
Yeah.
they have pretty much invented the current horror genre because I mean,
Yes.
Juan went on to do The Conjuring, Whannell went on to do Insidious. Now he's doing the Invisible Man. He also did Upgrade, which was outside of the horror genre.
Upgrade was
but that was amazing.
fantastic.
And then of course James Wan has done Aquaman, so they both branched out, but still they've been making some pretty big successes.
Yeah.
And I'm eager to see if he does keep going because right now Universal's idea is to no longer try to create a shared universe, but to focus on making solid individual movies, and then later on down the road, if it works out that they can start crossing over, that's great. But their main focus right now is solid movies first, and they've talked to Whannell about doing more. They've reportedly offered John Krasinski any property he wants to make of the Universal
Because
monsters.
of A Quiet
Yeah.
Place and how
They've
successful
talked to
it's been.
Elizabeth Banks. I don't know about that one. She's signed on to do The Invisible Woman currently.
Ugh.
We'll see how that goes. That was before her debacle with Charlie's Angels, and before this movie release. So I have a feeling with Whannell getting a big hit and her not, maybe that might change. We don't know.
Well, and I don't want to the end of this film kind of leaves it open to potential sequels involving
something
a woman.
else, yeah.
Which,
So
and I
that's
think
why
that
well,
was
her
their
movie was not
intention.
going to have anything to do with this movie.
I know, but I think it
So-
should.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. The
Yeah.
way this ends to where there could be more connecting to this movie, I have a feeling they
Yeah.
might be like, well, we could let her make The Invisible Woman with no connection to this, or we could change and, because, I mean, I think they're kind of deciding now, like, how they want to route all these Universal monster
Yeah.
ideas. So,
Right.
Yeah.
And try to figure out a way to keep them
'Cause, I mean,
centered
Well,
and rooted
one of the
in
things
something
about this
real.
movie is it's not really a monster.
no.
And I think like all the other
Well, none of the Invisible
implementations,
Man
I know, but
men
all
were,
all
but-
the other ones, it was genetic. It was
Yes.
it was an injection, or it was something.
Yeah.
This is the first one I've seen where they took like not modern technology, but future technology that
to make him invisible.
is
yeah.
being implemented in a lot of ways, especially with the military, and they use a suit or a technology to make him invisible, and it was
Right.
very
What-
realistic.
what
It
he
made
did-
it seem more like this is something that could actually happen.
It was, and honestly, it reminded me of Metal Gear. Because
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Frank Yeager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gray Fox. But
Gray
but at the
Fox.
same time, it was within that realm of believability. Whereas, the original Invisible Man, he creates some concoction, injects himself.
Yeah.
It's like it was still science, but it was not realistic
As much
or
technology
believable.
though. This
This
was
was-
involving cameras and
Yeah.
lenses and like optical.
It was well done.
I mean, it's
yeah.
very well thought out and done. So that's what made it more terrifying to me is the fact that once you find out that this is how he did it, it's kind of like, dang, somebody could really do
Could
that.
Could
something
do
like
this.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is. It's creepy, and I mean, it's a good direction for them so far. We'll see. I mean, they don't have really anything concrete lined up yet.
Yeah.
Before this came out, before the Mummy release, they had this lined up with a different director. I forget who. Johnny Depp was originally supposed to play the Invisible Man.
Thank God
they,
that didn't
They
happen.
hired
Yeah.
Javier Bardem to play Frankenstein because they forget who they had doing the Bride of Frankenstein. They had there's a set,
Javier Bardem
yeah.
could
Yeah,
probably
he could.
do.
I
They
didn't
had
know
a
that.
photo. They had
I
a
wouldn't-
Dark Universe cast photo of Tom Cruise from The Mummy.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Johnny Depp because he was going to be
The
Invisible
Invisible
Man.
Man.
They had Javier Bardem in there. They had
Did they have Jekyll and Hyde?
Yes, they had. I forget his
Um,
name.
God,
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe,
They had
yeah.
Russell. They had them all together in one set photo because they were going to be the future of the Dark Universe. Then The
Yeah.
Mummy released, and they scrapped all of that.
Of course. And thankfully, they're now moving forward with one movie at a time.
Yeah.
And ultimately, even if they don't expand on this universe or have other successes such as The Invisible Man, the fact is this alone is a worthwhile watch, and it is standalone as a film.
Well, it was
is a
made
good
with
movie.
like less than half the budget of The Mummy.
Well,
and
and
it's
actually,
already profiting more.
Yeah, well, they were saying that was an interesting fact. They were saying that this movie is actually making the same amount that Mummy made when it came out. The difference is because of its budget being much smaller.
Yeah.
It's a much bigger.
It's
success.
much more lucrative, and I mean it's getting great reviews. So I think Universal will see this and realize, okay, if we focus on continuing to make movies this way, we'll have a success.
Well, I think that's always the catch-22. Less is more, and
And word of mouth on a movie like this works wonders. Like as far as people going to see it, like our friend Brevin, he commented earlier that he thought he was going to hate it at first, but then when he went and saw it,
he
and
loved
I
it?
can kind of agree. I didn't think I was going to hate it, but after seeing the trailer, I was kind of like, I'm just like Keith.
like
I'm
a
like, this is-
generic. I
yeah.
mean, for one, it comes out in February, and we talked about the changeover
Yep,
in
the
the
dump
recent
month.
years.
Yeah.
That now early on releases, you kind of have to be.
it was
they're
good
not-
enough to intrigue me,
Yeah.
but at the same
Yeah.
time, I just thought it was going
But
to be mediocre.
it was a surprise.
Exactly.
Yeah, to come out of it thinking 3.5 out of 4 stars, which I'm right there with Keith on that. I was very surprised because there's not a lot of thriller, horror, suspense kind of movies that I would even give that kind of rating to.
Well,
I
and
mean, most
I think
recently I would say Jordan Peele's movies, but I mean,
Us
even
and,
even
Get
them,
Out.
this was just on another level.
Well, and I think it's when you take it to the next level of it just being more about than jump scares. I think that's what you've seen with Insidious, with The Conjuring, with all of these more. They are psychological thrillers. They add a layer and a depth to the story and to the characters that make them. It makes it much scarier because they're now personal and you can approach them. But I also think that's the ingenious part of using these tropes that they had in older movies. And when you add that element to it, it just makes it even more scary.
What I find funny is because, like I said, James Wan and Lee Winnell, they created the Saw franchise, which kicked off the whole like the torture porn genre about constant gore, and it's funny that
Hostel was
like even though they started that franchise, they didn't stick long with it.
Yeah.
And it's funny that they both are the two that kind of turned horror back around to classic like atmospheric horror, where it's like the suspense build up and stuff is what makes the horror more so than, and I love that. I love the fact that they could do the Saw thing, but they can
here's
also
the
be
one
like,
thing
well,
that
here we
I
understand real horror.
One of the reasons I was always early on a huge fan of M. Night Shyamalan and The Sixth Sense was he was the one who got and understood the idea that it's much scarier to fear the person coming rather than show the killer with the bloody knife.
Yeah, right.
And for me, it's like there's a place to be had and a love for the old slasher flicks like Friday the 13th.
But even they
Nightmare on
still
Elm Street,
had actual
Halloween,
scary moments,
and they
outside
did.
of the gore.
But even still, even through their scary moments, they're a different type of genre as opposed to me, suspense.
Oh yeah,
and for me, suspense
killing you or like scaring you with your own imagination. Because if you can't see it coming, then you're left up to your own thoughts of what's behind the door or what's going to appear in the mirror or who's maybe or not standing in the room with you. So it's that was what made this movie so terrifying. Was it had those jump scare moments, but there were few of those and much more of that just not knowing. So that when the jump scare came, you've kind of settled down a little bit.
Right.
And then boom, like something just happens and
then
just
gotcha.
like makes you jump out of your seat. My father-in-law would have had a heart attack during this movie. I'm telling
and
you.
he didn't go. Rick didn't
and there's
go.
so many moments like I just really didn't see coming. No pun intended. Like I just,
Oh!
I just they like he said they build the suspense good, and then something would happen, and then you're like okay, and then like something worse would happen that you're not expecting.
oh,
you were
God.
just like oh
Like,
crap.
yeah,
Like,
like,
But
what
that's
the
and I
hell?
think that's the beauty of it. It's like and that's the beauty of good direction when you can see what people are expecting and then overcome those expectations by scaring them even more. But absolutely a film worth checking out. One that stands alone as a suspenseful psychological thriller, but absolutely, would be interesting to see much more come from. I think we're much more intrigued now to see what Universal has on its hands.
Yep.
So 3.5 out of 4 stars for The Invisible Man.
yeah, it's pretty good.
I think we're ready to move on to our headline of the week, guys.
Yeah, it's pretty good too.
Quite. Yeah, I mean, is it never not good? Come on, Keith. Really?
It depends. Sometimes we give you free reign, and then you come up with stuff that just
Name
no, it's
one.
not good.
Name one bad headline.
I have to.
Yeah,
look.
he
I
doesn't
don't-
have one. He doesn't have one.
That's because I don't remember any of the headlines. I have to
Yeah.
go back and look
Yeah.
at them all.
I have to go back and look.
All right, our headline for this week. We obviously kind of already talked about Sonic being edged out by the Invisible Man.
Sonic.
But with Sonic, being such a huge hit at the box office.
Yeah.
And with new up-and-comers, such as like on the small screen, The Witcher being a huge release for Netflix, also based on a video game, based on a book. The fact of the matter is we're seeing now a resurgence in video game movies. We've seen our fair share of video game movies that
we've seen
have been
more than our fair share.
terrible adaptations, from the late 80s and mid 90s.
Every movie Hugh Bowl ever made.
Yeah.
They're
Well, that
all
was his
video
claim to
game-
fame, yeah.
all video game movies that were terrible.
But I mean, there have been some wretched ones.
Yes, there have.
Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Yeah.
Honestly, all the Resident Evils I could do without.
Yeah.
I know people will hate me for that, but I'm sorry. Whether you're a fan of the series or not, and they've got a lot of fan service, movies are terrible.
yeah,
They're just awful. There's plenty more.
Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider,
the
not-
new
not
one with
as
Alicia
lukewarm.
Vikander was lukewarm.
Yep.
The sequel with to their first one with Angelina Jolie was a letdown.
Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's
even
Creed.
even
Oh,
with
that
Michael
was-
Fassbender.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah.
And that was supposed to be the launch of a new
Like
huge
video game.
Yeah.
video
it's,
game
it's
franchise.
funny. Yeah, that one was, and it's funny that Sonic, the one that nobody expected, ended up being the one that people were like, oh look, maybe video game movies aren't
Yeah.
dead.
And of course now,
I mean,
even though it's
Detective
been,
Pikachu was
Ubisoft wanted to launch. They wanted to launch like Splinter Cell and all kinds
Oh,
of
yeah.
stuff
Yep.
off that. The Division. They wanted to make movies. Of
All the
that
Tom
stuff.
Clancy
Well, I mean,
stuff.
Yeah.
Warcraft. I mean, they're still trying to figure out. Like they still want to keep making
Now-
Warcraft movies, but they're
well,
kind
and
of
we actually had that on
Yeah.
Tinseltown Trivia a couple weeks ago, where
That's a
we
successful
yeah,
film.
it was a
It
successful
was
film.
the highest the highest grossing
video game movie.
video game film.
Mhm.
But compared to its budget, it was still a little rocky. But I mean,
Yes.
still it profited. So
But even then, the fact is we've also seen films like Uncharted being caught in production hell.
and they're
Um,
moving full steam ahead with that.
we were-
They
Yeah.
just announced Antonio Banderas is joining the cast.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
now the other thing I read too that was interesting is Mark Wahlberg is only signed on for one of those movies.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So if
Isn't he playing Sully though?
I think so.
That's interesting.
And because they have Tom Holland as young Nathan.
yeah,
So
because
And I
disappointed
thought it
in
was
that.
so stupid that they were going with a young Nathan Drake story.
yeah.
It's like, why? It's like
I guess
older
they
Nathan
don't-
Drake.
So
I
we
guess they don't
saw
wanna
that at
cross
the
over
beginning
to
of
the
Uncharted
games,
3.
but,
Yes,
you know.
exactly.
Like we saw the young Nathan Drake.
Yeah.
I don't want to see a movie about it.
And I will say,
I want
Tom,
to see a new story.
Well, there's
and
going
I-
to be a new story
but I think
about his past.
Yeah, I don't want to.
so here's the thing. With all of that being said, because that's kind of the argument here is even if they start making decent films, something like a Sonic, where, for instance, when you sit down and play that game, definitely more arcade style,
Oh, yeah.
something that you know
Oh, yeah.
no really very simple story, nothing that is absolutely mind blowing by any means. Then you have movies like Uncharted
It's
coming
a
out,
platformer, yeah. Well,
where
Sonic was, yeah.
Uncharted comes out, and yet it's like you're playing Indiana Jones when you sit down to play the game.
Mhm.
The story is already so
It already has a
expansive
cinematic
and so
story.
good.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's like, is this resurgence justified because we're seeing better video game adaptations, or is it something that obviously we know it's a cash grab? But are we going to see some of these films come out and they're not going to do it justice because the video game itself is already such an interactive medium that you get more fleshed out characters, more
Yep.
fleshed out story.
Oh, we're absolutely still going to get bad video game movies. I mean, look at the superhero genre. It's like, yes, we could say
Well,
Marvel
and that actually
knocks it out of the park, but we still get bad superhero movies too.
that was going to be
I
my
mean-
question. Do you think video game movies are going to become the new Marvel superhero franchise?
It's going to take a studio similar to Marvel making a string of good ones for that to happen. But yeah, I mean, yes, it's possible, but I'd have to wait and see someone actually start producing like video game hit after video game
Yeah.
hit.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Detective Pikachu, a year later Sonic. It's like you have some here or there. Really, those are the only two I can even think of recently.
Yeah,
that
but
have
if
been
you think
good.
about it too, the ones that so far that have been pretty successful and halfway decent films are the ones that are more family oriented or kid oriented.
True.
Super Mario Brothers, if that's happening, and Pac-Man, if that's happening, I think those are going to cater to the kids, so people are going to come out and see that. You're going to make money off that.
Yep.
But the Uncharted movie or even Eli Roth's Borderlands, like if they're trying to make that like the game, it's going to have to be PG-13 or R.
Yeah.
And
And
you're
you've
going to
got-
have
and you've
to
got
me,
Eli
you're going to
Roth.
have
It's-
less you're going to
yeah.
have less people coming to see that, and you're just going to
Well,
have
I was gonna
pissed off
say, but
adults.
doesn't
you're
necessarily explain
catering-
unsuccess.
True, but you're catering to a different crowd. I mean,
Yeah.
the fact is I think when you even talk about those movies, it's like again, simplicity is the structure of the game. Those are games that
at
focus
the same
more
time,
on gameplay
They
and
also know what
experience.
the fans like. Detective Pikachu and Sonic both catered to. They knew the fan base and
Yeah.
actually
Yes.
gave fan. They were faithful to what it
Yes.
was.
Right.
A lot of video game movies. You look at Resident Evil, Tomb Raider. A lot of those they have the character and name, and they're kind of they're really just
Well,
that.
the fan
but they're not a
service
story.
is cheap because the whole time I'm watching the movie and they throw out little Easter eggs, I'm just like, okay, I'll go play the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the point in watching this 2-hour movie that's exactly
Well, if
the
you
same?
give me a good story, I'm fine with that. None
True.
of those had good stories. It's like I would watch an Uncharted movie if it gave me a story different from the stories I've already played in the game that was still good.
True, because that's each and every single game.
It's like if they adapted, the game verbatim, then no, it might be boring.
But
but
here,
that's what I'm saying. I think
that's
Borderlands
kinda
could be a
my-
huge success. I think
It
that
could
would
be.
No,
be
no
good.
doubt it could be, but it would cater mostly to adults though.
And
And
that's
I'm not
fine.
saying adults aren't the only ones that play that game. Obviously, middle schoolers, teenagers play those games, but that's a movie that you're not going to take the youngsters to see. So
No.
it's I think it's reducing
Well,
its fan base.
and even
True,
if
but
you
I
do
mean,
that.
even if
rated
the
R
youngsters
movies do
but
succeed.
even if the youngsters go and see that movie,
Mhm.
and whether it's rated R or not, it's like at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself who's going to be more interested in seeing a movie like that on the big screen or just playing the game.
Yeah,
I mean, if the story and the act, I mean, if the
if
majority
the
of
whole
your
movie
time,
is cell shaded, like a Scanner Darkly,
yeah,
then
could be
I will
interesting.
love it.
yeah,
That would
If
be
they
really
make it
interesting.
look like the game by doing that
Yeah.
type of film style,
Yeah.
that animation, if they
See,
would do
I,
that,
I almost think that's a sellout, though.
I don't.
I think not the technique, but I think if you don't, to me, the movie's got to have enough of its own spirit and
Well,
enough
yeah.
of its own, substance
To stand
and ingredients to make
it
itself
still
something
needs-
interesting that adds to the video
But at
game
the
I've
same
already
time,
played.
I don't want
Yeah.
it so displaced from the game that it's not. That's why
That
I
it's
didn't
not
like.
Borderlands.
That's why I didn't like
Yeah.
Resident Evil or Tomb Raider because it's like, well, this isn't really
No.
what those games
Right.
were, and that's why I didn't like them. Is you have to find that balance of offering something new but still being faithful to what the games were
Yeah.
about.
the Doom movie, like that with the one with
Awful.
Carl Urban, is a terrible movie. But I'll tell you where it went completely sideways is when they went into the first person
Yeah.
camera view at the end of the movie. And to me, I'm just like, okay, now that it is a video game.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're not giving me a movie anymore. Now you're making it
Well,
into. And
or
I,
if
that
it
was
does
what
something
I.
more unique with that, because I mean, Upgrade was all in first person.
No,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
no,
that-
no,
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 that was
Hardcore Henry.
Hardcore Henry,
yes.
yeah.
Hardcore Henry was
Right.
good.
And that was
Yes.
amazing. If they did something like
But that was the whole movie.
It
And,
could
and
be
yes.
interesting.
Well, and not
but-
only that, but think, okay, that's a perfect example of something that you perceive from the video game world, but then is adapted to a completely different story and a completely different take in how it's filmed, and that becomes the unique way of telling that story. But to me, that's the problem where a lot of video games got it wrong. Now, to say, for instance, Nintendo botched the original, property with Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah,
movie.
that movie was
It's
awful.
Yes.
terrible.
Yeah.
But with the new one, and even though they're doing it through Illumination
Yeah, which
Studios,
gives
Right.
me
So it's not
pause.
going to be live action this time.
No, it's gonna be.
Exactly.
They've already said, yeah, it's definitely
Yes.
animated.
and so my question there, or not my question, my hope there is that because it's more traditionally in the vein of Mario,
Yes.
but it's going to be somewhat better. But then again, I mean, that was kind of why I thought it was odd that I mean, hell, why not just come up with a video game? That's what you're already doing with Super Mario Galaxy. The more realistic
Well,
and
because people have more
cartoonish
time.
the graphics are.
But I'm just saying, more people have time to sit and watch, a
True.
90-minute movie. And if your kids are running around and they don't want to play a video game, but they might
Or
wanna
they
watch
can't,
something,
you know.
Yeah.
yeah, they're too young to play. It's like, well, here, watch Mario.
Her mom said, "No,
Yeah.
you've had too much today."
Yeah.
But no,
So,
I mean,
you
there,
can't
there
play it, but you
is-
can watch it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but yeah, I definitely think there are ways in which the video game adaptations can become successful. I think they've learned from their past mistakes, but it still is that to me, it's kind of like the uncanny valley with, CGI graphics.
Mhm.
There's a very, it's just this precipice of either you're good or you're bad, and it teeters a lot of times as to the choices you make in making these movies. And I think you can end up with the Sonic where obviously we saw for the better part of a year we were all trashing the movie. We were downplaying it because of the choices they made with the CGI. They listen to fans, they go back, they change it, but then regardless of the Sonic, it takes Sonic.
Regardless of the visuals, it was still a good movie.
It was still a good
Yeah.
movie. So it was just the Sonic character in and of itself that was already kind of this pinpointed like criticism, but yet when you get rid of that, it could have been any CGI character, and you could have probably still had a decent movie.
Yeah.
But the Sonic brand and name is what made that film.
Yeah.
And then of course the Easter
What
eggs
happened with Cats?
and connecting it
It's
to
like, the
Yeah.
CGI was messed up in that, but it was still a crappy movie.
Yeah.
According to everybody that's seen it.
that's seen it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think with video game films, I have hope that they're finally coming up on the up and up.
Yeah.
But I'm still, I don't know. I still have that hard time believing, every once in a while. It's like I judge a book by its cover when I see the trailer.
Oh yeah.
I see the trailer,
As
I
you
get
would
my
do.
first taste, and the first thing I'm going to think is, why should I invest my time here? And I think it is like you said.
It comes down to
if
the
I don't
same thing.
have-
It always comes down to is like if you make a good movie,
Right.
Yeah.
you're fine. It's like make something good, make something worthwhile.
But to
It's
me,
not just movies either. I mean, some of the things that we've mentioned are these
Right.
series like The Witcher and Halo coming up and things like that. And some of them are better off that way. Like I almost think looking at Borderlands on this list, I'm like, that could be a really good series,
a series
versus
yeah.
a movie.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I could see that going for several seasons. The Witcher was highly, critically acclaimed. It's a great show. And I have no doubt if Showtime is pumping money into Halo, that's probably going to end up being something that's at least compelling.
Yeah.
So some of these don't even necessarily need to be a movie. They could make a pretty decent series out of them.
And to me, all I'm for is I just don't. The movie or the show has to do something a tad bit different. Again, it's like that secret sauce, that special ingredient that I can't put my hand on, because for me, every individual movie or show is going to be different.
Yeah.
But it has to be more than just copying the video game. It has to be more than just we're going to throw all of these Easter eggs in to just satisfy fans.
It's a fine line because you do have because it's the same thing with any medium. Like making a movie from a book.
Yep.
People could say, "Well, why I'll go watch that when I could just go read the book?" It's like, there's a fine line of the fans that want a straight adaptation of exactly what they've seen and known and get upset if they don't get that, and the fans that don't want an exact adaptation because they've already been there and done that. And you've seen successes with both. I mean, The Walking Dead for years was a major success because they used the same storylines, but they changed how things happened or who died and where. So it wasn't the same, but it was still the same plot, and people loved that.
That's what I'm talking about.
But Game of Thrones, on the other hand, when they made such major changes, people were ticked, which rightfully so, because those major changes were often for the worse, as we saw with the
last season.
The last season, which didn't really have a source material to work off of. So
that might have been the problem.
but again, I think that is where that's what it comes down to, and that's always the big subjective part is. It's just got to be good.
What changes are acceptable and what aren't.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
And what's worth including and what's worth taking away.
Yeah.
Like I said, I wouldn't have a problem with the cell shaded, Borderlands movie. My problem is that can't be the only thing that gets me in the
only
seat.
draw.
Oh no,
Because at
it's
the
got
end
to
of
be
the
a
day,
good,
it's
compelling story.
Right.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's where I think movies like Sonic and hopefully the reboot of Mortal Kombat and the Uncharted movie, that's where I'm hoping they're taking their time to make sure they're not just doing fan service, but they're trying to get new fans in who will never pick up a controller because, frankly, they want the Uncharted, I mean, that's the thing.
They
A
want
lot
the
of
Uncharted
times,
experience. Like, my parents would probably love Uncharted, but
Yeah.
they're never going to play those games. They couldn't if they
Well,
tried.
and frankly,
I mean, I'm not trying to be mean.
Yeah.
So, but my dad would love to see that on screen because he loves stories like that.
but frankly, I would say watch Indiana Jones, and you've got Uncharted.
Well,
Yeah.
he doesn't want. He wants to watch Uncharted.
But no,
Maybe
but
somebody wants that
that's
story.
my point is the reason Uncharted games were made was to kind of mimic the movies Indiana Jones and put you in the
In the
seat of
gameplay.
him.
Yeah.
And so of course there's a fleshed out world and these characters are unique, but at the end of the day, that was a game that existed for the pure purpose of giving you the control of an Indiana Jones type character.
Still, but that's the
so
same
it's
thing
kind
as
of
like,
one of those things
But I
where
can
it's
say
like,
he's like, well, then go read the book rather than make a movie about it. It's the same. Again, it's the same. It's like some people just want that story or those characters to see what it's about. I mean, if you can make money off of if the video games make money and I can make money off a series or a movie, you're going to try.
But I'm just my thing is the flavor of Uncharted is not so much different than what I've already gotten
true.
in Indiana Jones.
True.
So something's gonna have to be different about that movie so that I don't watch it and think, well, hell, I could have just watched Indiana Jones.
And absolutely,
Yeah.
I agree with
Yeah.
you, and that's
That's what I'm
how
saying.
we all feel. But I'm just saying from the studio standpoint, they're thinking is there's certain people, like I said, like my parents, who are going to love that story and want to pay for it. that
They're
would never
hoping.
pick up.
They're hoping they don't know yet till
well,
it comes
depends
out.
on
Yeah.
how they do it.
They're
again.
obviously hoping for a success,
Yeah.
but nobody knows. It's no guarantee. You know, they could come out and then your parents
Of course-
will watch it
of
and
course,
say,
honestly,
why didn't I just watch
Well,
Indiana
of course,
Jones?
honestly, with Tom Holland, that might be their angle. Is that you could get Indiana Jones, but now we have a kid doing it. It's like,
And I
well,
think that's more or less what it is.
And see
They-
that hurts because man, the short with Nathan Fillion
oh yeah,
Was
that
awesome.
that gave me something that Indiana Jones can't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same angle, but that was just there was something about that little tidbit that that they released that I'm just
Well,
like, man,
because
if they
his-
made the movie like this, I would be all in
It's
it, and
how
I would
you
forget about
do the
Indiana
story
Jones.
and the characters, because Nathan Drake is definitely a different beast from who Indiana Jones is.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's like it's about making sure the character development's there, the writing's there, even the cinematography. Because the
Yeah.
one great thing about that short was it wasn't constant, but they did have like the
Camera
overness.
angles
They did
and
the
things.
But
Yeah.
again, and those are the Easter eggs where I'm okay with,
Yeah.
and they don't go overboard.
Mhm.
But again, that's strictly fan service.
when he
Yeah.
walks
People
out.
who haven't played
Yeah.
the games or people who
Yeah.
don't know that,
Yeah.
they're going to see the movie and they're just going to probably
Like
think,
Silent Hill.
yeah,
Remember that when does the camera angles when she's
Yeah.
walking around the corners that are
Yes.
just like out of the game, and that was what made it
Freaky.
so well. It was freaky, but that's what made it enjoyable to me. It's not a very good movie
No,
at
it's
all,
not.
but it was just like, man, it made me think of that when I'm playing the game.
yes,
and that
exactly.
I like that, the subtle nuances that lead you back to the experiences that you had in the game.
right.
But it also gave me a completely different story from the Silent Hill games.
Yeah.
And I liked it if it would have been
and
done
for those who haven't seen
And if
or
it wouldn't
played
have had
those
Sean Bean.
games,
better. If it wouldn't have had
did he
him.
die? Did he die? He has
No.
to die. Oh, he
No,
didn't.
he didn't die.
Oh, okay.
It's one of the rare movies.
Movies that he
That
doesn't.
and National Treasure are like two of the only movies he doesn't die in.
Well,
That's true.
that's
He got
true.
arrested.
He got
National
arrested, yeah.
Treasure.
He died in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I agree. It's just like when you're watching Mortal
Yeah.
Kombat and Shang Tsung stands up and
Yeah.
says, "Finish him."
Yes.
Flawless victory.
Oh,
Your
it's like-
brother's soul is mine.
Those were great because of how campy.
Yes.
It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
that was a massive hit, but not for I think the reasons it was
No,
supposed to be.
that was pure fan,
fan
service.
service. Yeah.
And I'm okay with that in some degree. Like
Yeah.
to me, it still had a fleshed out story. It had those moments.
Well, I mean,
and I was a nerd. And
originally
a kid at
Mortal
the time,
Kombat didn't
you know?
have a massive storyline. I mean, you had the basic you're defending Earth from.
Hey, I'm just saying, you know people who are hardcore Mortal Kombat fans, they know that lore.
Oh,
Yeah.
they
And
know.
it's like
well, that's
they're into
anything.
it, man.
Any series. I mean, people know the Sonic lore way better than we
True.
do.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the newer games have expanded on it, but it's one of those things that
Your
when you-
average viewer doesn't, and you're
Yes,
obviously
and when you make that transition
your
into
non-player
film,
doesn't.
yeah,
you
when you
know?
make that transition into film, certain things have to be adapted based on what the average audience will accept, not what nerds
exactly.
want.
And that's all I'm saying. They've got to be cautious, but
Mhm.
I think it maybe after the success of something like the Marvel franchise
Mhm.
and the few so far so good video game adaptations, I think we can have a resurrection of video game adaptations that
Yeah.
can be tasteful.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
I want to find a new medium to adapt into film. We
Yeah.
got comics, we got video games, we got books. Can we
What
like
if-
take songs and like adapt song stories?
You already have
into
musicals.
movies?
Yeah.
No,
Rocket
no.
Man.
I mean, you take a single song and its storyline and make a whole movie out of it.
Yeah, you
Oh,
can.
if they made a movie about the Edmund Fitzgerald, that would be
It
awesome.
is. It's called
See?
Yeah,
Command and
see?
Command and Commander. What is it?
Or
Master and Commander.
Master and Commander.
No, that's completely
I was
different.
about to say, Paramount's already making movies based off of board games and
Monopoly
toys.
and
Battleship.
You got Battleship and
Yeah.
Transformers.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like Hasbro and Mattel. They're like, we're taking Mattel board
Yeah.
games and Hasbro toys, and we'll make movies.
All right, well, I think we need
Yeah.
to do drinks.
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 Gatorade.
And make it a sports.
We're gonna make a
movie.
Kool-Aid Man movie.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Man.
That'll be an animated hit. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
We'll get Kevin from The Office to voice it.
Oh.
All
Oh
right.
no.
I think we're ready to move on to
Please.
our unique weekly segment. What is it this week, guys? It's multimedia.
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 Sean, you love that,
I
don't
love
you?
it.
Haven't you heard? Haven't you heard? All right, guys.
Multimedia.
We've got a good one.
What
This
is
is
it?
kind of a smorgasbord.
You're a
Smorgasbord.
Smorgasbord.
I thought it was
don't-
board.
I don't
board-
know. I don't know how to
Smorgasbord.
speak.
No, I thought it was
Smorgasbord.
Is it Borg?
I don't know. I thought it
No,
was
that's
Borg.
from Star Trek.
No, the Borg, yeah.
Smorgasbord?
I thought it was bored.
I don't know. Spell it.
I
Find
don't
out
know.
the word. And
Smorgasbord.
we got a good one though because it's kind of about our own opinion.
Smorgasbord food. Smorgasbord.
Smorgasbord.
meaning. It's board, yeah.
Board?
It's Jewish, isn't it?
Smorgasbord.
Is that
A
Jewish
luncheon
thing?
or supper buffet offering a variety of foods and dishes such as hors d'oeuvres, hot and cold meats, smoked and pickled fish, cheeses, salads, and no, it's just a.
That's just a.
Any massive like
it just sounds
walk-
like a
like if you go
Jewish
into a
word or
buffet and you
something.
got in
like
this.
a schmuck and a smorgasbord.
Yeah, and that's what
Yeah.
our comments are going to be today
Yeah.
on our unique weekly segment. A smorgasbord.
Yeah.
Now I know how to say it. That's all right. You
An
learn something every
often
day.
large heterogeneous mixture.
Hetero.
Hetero.
That sounds good to me.
Where does the word smorgasbord come? I'm going to find it. You can keep going. I'm just,
All right, yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
trying to
now
do-
Say it like says it like the chef in the Muppets.
I was trying to see if it was Jewish or not.
It's origins.
Yeah, I was like, it's Swedish. It's Swedish.
It's Swedish.
Ah, Swedish chef. Oh my
Yes.
God.
Yes.
Oh.
All right, back on topic.
Well, that's our show for this
Please.
week.
That's our multimedia segment.
Salvage the show.
All right, no, we do have a smorgasbord segment. So we're asking our hey, if you want to join in, either comment on
Yeah,
Facebook,
comment.
YouTube, or email us at rmpodcast@redmoonproductions.com. And we'll answer your unique weekly segment question. The question is
I'll ponder about
oh no, I didn't change it out. Hold on, I got the wrong. Oh no, what?
I'm reading the notes that somebody put in here.
it.
It
Oh,
says,
yeah.
"Why does the media be the way it be? When is it okay to let robots love? What is the greatest story ever told?"
Yeah, I typed that in there while I was typing the review. Sometimes I type stuff into the
Yeah,
notes just to
and
see
they
if you all
and they,
notice.
And I
they
never
sync,
find it out.
They sync with ours.
Oh.
I never find
When
it
is
out
it
till it's
okay
too
to
late.
let robots love? I honestly think that should be our multimedia segment. But you go ahead with what
Go
you
ahead.
originally
I say
planned.
I already put the lower up, so
Oh, what was
I'm
it?
sorry.
Okay.
It's what will revolutionize film next.
Mm.
That's
Oh.
that's our question.
Yeah.
It's perfectly multimedia
Mm.
worthy.
Robot love.
Robot love will.
I'm telling you.
Revolutionize.
I think you hit the
Yeah.
nail on the head now. What film category are we going to revolutionize? And I think it's
Mhm.
going to be robot love.
Mm-hmm.
The Terminator's coming back, but not for war this time.
He's like, I'll be back for love.
For you. All right.
Oh, God.
Anyways, so the question really, quite frankly, is just open ended.
I have
What
to say this.
technology or what I don't know, creation do you think will revolutionize film next?
I told you, augmented reality. You're
Oh,
gonna
you
be.
think
You're gonna
AR?
instead of a TV
Mhm.
screen, we're just gonna have the hologram. Actually, I don't know if I would like that. I've always thought about that when you see in shows the holographic
Yeah.
video. It's like
Yep.
that'd be fun to talk. Like if I was talking to you and you popped up as a holograph, like that augmented reality would be cool.
Yeah.
But I was watching a movie, like I'd hate that. Like the scenery, you would still see the stuff behind you. Like I don't like
Yeah,
that.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
like that either.
Yeah.
I
You'd have
agree.
like Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro in your living room.
Yeah, and that'd be cool,
Be
but then you
weird.
could see like the picture frames and stuff behind instead of like the scene in the bar. They're sitting in your living
Yeah.
room, and it's like it's
Yeah.
not as immersive. I
Yes.
feel.
Yeah, I don't really
Yeah.
think we're going that way.
So
I
maybe
don't
not.
either. Well, and that was going to be my
I
problem.
mean,
too.
augmented reality is a cool idea, but I don't think.
I
for
think
film.
you'll be able to, just like with my VR headset, I think you'll be able to put some form of headgear on and see a large screen
Yeah,
in your
definitely.
living
Yeah.
room, but it's going to be the movie the way it was meant to be presented.
Yeah.
It's not going to be
That I agree with.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I've always said we're going the route of Wall-E. We're all going to end up in those chairs, just
Oh, I
with
know.
visors
Just
on our heads, just
visors and
Yeah.
living in our own
big,
world.
like
Yep.
fed stuff through tubes.
Yep.
Be awful, and we'll be fat and love it.
I won't. I'm gonna get out and run.
No,
I don't
you
want to be one
You
of
wanna
those.
get out and run?
I'll run on a treadmill with my visor on.
Yeah.
Oh god.
No, the thing is, what I think is going to revolutionize film, and I'm kind of ticked. There's small remnants.
24K.
24K is coming.
That's bigger than 4K.
24
Yeah.
karat magic. It's already here. Bruno Mars, baby.
Oh.
Oh.
Go ahead.
That
Go
was
ahead.
terrible. I think that I'm a little upset because I've had an idea for quite some time. I don't want to share it on here because, hey, patents.
Well, because
it's already been done.
People have
Patent
already started
pending.
doing your
But
idea.
it's not. It's not done in the way that I would do.
Oh, okay.
Right now, you've got these Netflix choose your own adventure.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think
like the Goosebumps books and other
Yes.
books, but the Goosebumps ones are the ones that come to my mind.
right.
immediately.
You read a certain page, and
And
then
it's
you,
like
you
for this,
turn to this
it's
page.
like if
and
you
so
run away,
yeah.
turn to this page. If you stay and fight, turn to this page.
And they
Yeah.
have like these Netflix things now where you can pick where you want to go next. And you were saying, Sean, earlier, it's kind of like a kid's.
It's mostly on some of the kids
kids stuff,
shows.
yeah.
Yeah, they can choose.
I think to me, it's not about choice in a given moment as much as it is about, the thrill of seeing something fresh, but yet it still remains the same.
Mhm.
And I think about wonderful, fantastic movies that we love, that are iconic, that are just absolute hits. And to me, what is going to become the new, I think, masterpieces of our time and the new movies to revisit are going to be the movies that you can sit down and watch, but every once in a while you pop it in and unexpectedly you get a different take from a different perspective, whether a certain scene plays that didn't play before, whether you see a vantage point from a different character that you didn't see before, and it gives you more, it gives you more depth,
Yeah.
not necessarily changes the story. Sometimes that would be cool to see how convoluted a story you could come up with
Yeah,
and have
yeah.
it change and reroute all these different ways. But to me,
But eventually,
to be able to pop in a movie or even just stream a movie and know that every time you watch it, you get just a little bit of flavor of something different every time and something added.
And that'd be interesting
And to
for-
me,
for
that
s-
I think is the revolution that film's going to face.
I say yes, and I mean for me that'd be interesting for some things, but
Yeah, not
other
everything.
thing-
Not
yeah,
everything.
Other things is like when I want to watch Return of the King, I want Return of the King. I don't want
Yeah.
something different happening each.
Okay,
and
okay,
I
but
mean-
for instance, and this is maybe kind of a cheap shot, but take extended edition for
Mhm.
instance.
Yeah,
If there were certain scenes supplemented from maybe you didn't want to watch a 4-hour film,
Right.
but you're still willing to give away 3 hours.
yeah.
So you were like, I want to watch the 3-hour cut, but I want certain scenes that will still work and tell the story from the extended cut, but maybe it substitutes other scenes that aren't as pivotal. To me, I think that would be the interesting flavor. Again, I'm talking
Yeah.
about something that's already done that you're looking at a finished product.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you're coming at it with a clean slate,
Yeah.
with a fresh
Right.
subject
you
matter,
can't use it with the film that's already
Yeah.
existing.
Yeah, because
you've got
there's-
to make the film.
y- right.
But one of the concerns that I would have with that is space. I mean, we have a finite amount of space on whether it's a server
Mm-hmm.
or a disk or whatever, and if you've got 50 different scenes so that you have a different thing 50 different times you watch the movie,
yeah.
you've got to have a lot of.
But think about how much the space is even eaten up on a Blu-ray disc now. I mean, you got like what 50 gigs.
That's the small one now.
And even then, so you look at 4K video, and even then, you're not eating up nearly as much as available on that disc.
Mhm.
And even beyond the disc, to me, the cool thing would be, mostly it would be streamed. And I'm talking about again, people think choice is. I don't think choice is the cool factor. I don't think being
Choose
able to
your own route.
choosing your own. I think it takes too much time. It takes too much investment. If I sit down and I watch a movie, the reason I'm picking that medium is I want to be invested in the story that's being told to me.
Mhm.
But to be able to sit down and watch a murder mystery and being able to see it from one particular way, and then if I click play again, knowing I'm going to get an entirely different film, but still the same story and the same scope, but different vantage points and different things that add to that story, I think is going to be something that's unique and fresh enough to keep people
I have,
coming
like
back.
I said, I have mixed feelings because it's
Yeah.
cool and I want to see something like that. But at the same time, there's times where I'm like, well, if I just want to watch say I want to watch a specific version, it's like,
Yes.
well, something new might pop up and I don't want to watch.
But here's
that
the
new.
thing,
I
and
want to
here's,
watch.
and here's what
Yeah,
I
you
would.
could-
and
maybe you can have that option.
Yeah.
I would say you would have
Yeah.
an option
Okay.
to pick the version you want.
Okay, that
and
would be
say
cool.
that's your favorite, and you want to watch that
Yeah,
one.
because my thing is like I watch a lot of
Exactly.
movies by myself 1st, and then I'm like, oh man, my wife would love that.
Yeah.
And it's like I want her to see the exact same thing that I saw. I don't
Yeah.
want her. I don't want to watch it again and us see something completely different. And then I'm like, oh, well, that wasn't in it the last time. Like, so I would. You would have to have the option to just repeat what you've already
Yeah,
saw,
absolutely.
and not
Absolutely.
have to.
Okay,
And-
if that
and-
was an
and-
option, yeah, I
yes.
can get behind
Yeah,
that.
that'd be kind of cool.
and I
Yeah.
absolutely think that you would
You know,
want that.
when DVD first came out, the first DVD that we owned was Lost in Space. Terrible movie, but
They had
back then you had different
multi-angle- yeah.
multi-camera angles,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
you could watch
See?
the movie from different camera
right,
angles.
and I think they were onto something, but I think
Yeah.
again it was gimmicky.
yeah,
And,
oh yeah,
and
it was.
just like 3D. It's not that 3D is more immersive. I think to be more immersive, it's to me I think of Nolan and I think of Memento, And I think of a movie like that, and again, I don't have an exactly drawn out plan, but if you have someone like a brain like Nolan who can come up with Memento, you have someone who can come up with a very, I mean, even take Knives Out, for instance.
Memento would be a
ways
crazy
in
movie
which
with new scene.
yeah, I mean, it would. But the thing is I agree. I think there, and I wouldn't say it was a director's cut, but I think you giving the choice to people to choose a cut of their own.
It's like you watch Justice League once, and the next time it might be the Snyder cut.
Yes. And I would watch
Gosh sakes. But no, that's a perfect point.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that to me is kind of where I think that movies, will
Interesting idea.
will
yeah.
go, and I think that's something that is not beyond. I think with technology, we've waited for technology to catch up. It's something that now. And that's the thing. When you're streaming it, it's not like you're streaming it and then you're gonna have a buffer because it's waiting for the next to choose the next.
Yeah.
It's like no, it's gonna predetermine it and lay it out.
Yeah.
But then you could always at any point stop it and say, I don't want to see that scene this time. I want to see the one that I saw the last time.
Yeah.
And I want that to be loaded in. And you would have that option. And of course, I just think it would come up with a litany of new ways in telling the story and also giving viewers, that's where the choice would come in. Like, oh, I like this cut better. So I'm going to choose that cut as my personal favorite.
Well, it's also a testament to the people making the film and writing it because
how much
if you,
more creative.
Yeah, exactly. If
Yeah.
it's already hard enough to get a coherent story from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Think about having to write it 27 different ways.
Exactly.
That it still fits and still conveys the same thing.
And that to me
That's
is
crazy.
I don't know.
That-
This all sounds like something Martin Scorsese and Steven Spielberg would hate you for.
Yeah.
no, on the contrary, because to me, the reason why I think this is a big push,
It's not traditional.
Well, no, it's not. No. I
They'd
think
hate him for it, but then they would do it.
they would do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spielberg definitely would. But I think the reason why, again, because to me, it's not based on a gimmick. It's not based on just giving the audience what they want. It truly is based on the creative art form that is filmmaking. And I think anytime you advance filmmaking and you make those huge monumental leaps in technology or in the way films are made, I think you add a new element to what makes it important and what makes its legacy last.
Yeah.
And to me, that's something that I could see furthering the understanding and the art form of film. And to me, that's why I think it would be amazing to see something like that take shape.
I think like the slasher genre would be almost
That'd
the
be
best one because it's
To
just
do,
like
yeah.
because the bad guy dies in a different way
Every time.
and you don't so it's
Like,
like
this
one
little
of the
teeny
one of the
bopper over
most
here, I
yeah.
didn't see the first time. Now I get to see
one
him
of the
kill
most
that one.
disappointing
You know?
things about a scary movie is once you've seen it, the thrill is gone. Like when you watch it
Exactly.
again, it's not scary anymore.
Not some of the best horror. movies.
I get it, but
no,
but
but
now
I
but the
agree.
Invisible Man when that comes out, like I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna watch it again, and it's not gonna jump scare me anymore because I know it's coming.
I know it just depends because I know Paranormal Activity's coming, but it still scares the crap out of me every time. So
Yeah, but
Yeah, it
I
is.
would agree that if you could add in a
if
new
you could
scene,
change it, yeah,
Yeah.
But
definitely.
if you could change
That way, the second time you watch it, you're expecting to jump here,
Yeah.
and you
And it
don't,
doesn't
and then
happen.
it happens later. Oh yeah,
yeah, see that way exactly.
it gets
Yeah.
me every time, man. Literally.
But that would, that's more specifically the jump scare type movies like that. Definitely, I would agree with that.
That'd be cool if Freddy died in a
Oh,
different
yeah.
way.
But
every
again,
time
you're
you watch
going
the
to
movie.
more of the more action oriented now,
Yeah.
like more of
Or if it's just it is a new it's like
Yeah.
okay this character's still in it but he goes off and does his own thing.
Yeah.
Well, and the next time I watch it, we now get to see where he ended up and how he gets killed.
That's
And we get to find out he did
Yeah.
die. So
Yeah.
it's not it's and then that's the other thing. How many loose ends and story threads could you build off of
Mhm.
and create, part 2 could be technically part 2, 3, 4, because it's got all those parts combined in
When
it.
we're talking about
It's like-
video games being adapted into the movies now, it sounds like you're adapting a movie into a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't choose. That's
No,
the
that's
difference.
that. Yeah,
And
you don't
that's and
choose.
that to me is the
You just have
differentiator. That's what separates
alternate
because
endings.
that's the thing. If you're choosing your own adventure in a movie, it's like, well, go
Yeah.
play a video game.
Yeah.
Go play one of those. It's like
Yeah.
you get to choose the whole adventure. Go play Grand Theft Auto. And but yeah, to me, filmmaking still has to remain that art that it is. So I think that's the way in which it would advance.
Okay.
All right, guys. I think is that going to do it for this edition
I
of the
think
Red Moon
so.
Podcast? Wow,
Let's wrap it up.
another fantastic episode. Would you all agree?
It was all right.
It was okay.
Mhm.
You're satisfied?
Oh yeah,
I give it,
I climaxed.
I give it like 2 out of 4.
Ooh, he climaxed.
2 out of 4.
Yeah, that's pretty
Wow.
good.
Damn. He's harsh
Yeah.
on our stuff.
Yeah.
More than he is
Yeah.
movies.
I'd say
That's not true.
3.
Thank
At
you,
least
Sean.
3.
I agree with Sean. 3.
Man.
Yeah, we had a rough opening there.
All right. If anybody wants to disagree with us and give us 4 stars, you can email us and let us know that you gave us 4 stars at RMPodcast@redmoonproductions.com. That's right. Or you could visit our website, redmoonproductions.com, and find our email
I
form
give
right
the
there.
website
Yep.
3.5.
Yeah, you do?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right. I'll
Yeah.
take that.
3.5, not 4.
Great.
Never 4.
All right, guys. I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast.
Keith, your dad said we do a great job.
We do a
Oh,
great
see,
job.
he loves us.
4 out of
Roger
4
Roger
stars.
You
loves
gonna give us
us
4 stars, Dad? That's nice.
Thanks, Raj.
He's being nice because I refuse to.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think that is going to do it for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast.
I agree.
As always, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And
Keith Cheatham.
so until next time, we will
See you at the movies.
We got it.
Show me what.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.